Sonia Rodriguez, thank you so much for joining us in this, or I should say, for this. Damn, I wish somebody would have told me that virtual summit, which I personally was inspired to create it because how many times we always talk and we're like, oh my God, that was a waste of time, or that could have gone better. And it's like the damn, I wish somebody would have told me that theme. So, of course, I had to invite you to be on this virtual summit because I know that you've been in the trenches, you've been in it, and you have so much wisdom to bring. And I'm so excited to host you. So thank you for being here.
Oh, first of all, thank you for having me. And I have to say that when I heard about the summit and learned the theme of it, I was so mad at you, Patty, that I didn't think of this myself. Because it's just so smart. It's so smart. And I don't think that there's enough information like this available. So thank you. I think it's really needed.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so for the viewer, will you please share what you do, what your work is, and why you believe it matters?
Okay. So I consider myself a lot of things. I am a business strategist. I am a high ticket sales and marketing expert. But I think what I really consider myself is a seer. And let me kind of explain what that means because you're probably thinking, like, what the hell are you talking about? What's this crazy lady saying? Like, what's a seer in business? And for some, I don't know, whatever reason, I'm able to kind of really see the holes that an entrepreneur has in their business. And I help them kind of bridge the gap from where they are to where they're looking to go. And so I think that I just have this unique ability to see, I call it like a 360 vision of a business. Like I can see it right away. So I can see like, what are your goals? What are your gaps? What are your opportunities? Like, what are the things you need to do right now? And I'm able to point my clients in the direction of like accelerated growth, impact, all those kinds of things.
Brilliant. And why do you think it matters now?
Okay, well, first of all, it matters because it saves a whole lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's number one. Patty, you and I have known each other for quite a few years. And, as you know me, I like things yesterday. So I like, just tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. Don't waste time, with this other stuff. I just want to know directly what's going to work for me. So I think that's a really important thing. But I think the other part for me, why it's important is because I work with women who have really big vision. And so what I find with, women who know that they've got something really big to share is that they can see that big picture, but sometimes it can be overwhelming because it does feel so big. Like, how do I kind of get this started? And I just have this ability to help them actualize it, to really like execute it, to make it real. And because most people don't like the mundane stuff that's super important for a business, like strategic planning, looking at the numbers, scheduling things. Like I'm really gross. Like I love it. That's my favorite kind of stuff to do. But because I kind of live in that, it allows them to be in their zone of genius. So they can remain creative and, I'm looking at the numbers.
Excellent. It's true. It's true. It's like the thing that bogs you down, right? Like if it's the number side of it, I mean, I see that all the time. It's like that's the area that has to be looked at. It doesn't mean that you have to do that, but I love the book by Dan Sullivan. It's like who, not how. When you're in a bottom
Yeah.
business, it's time to ask yourself, who is the person that I need? Who could fill this gap? And that's exactly what you're talking about, that you bring to the table. You are a who for different CEOs and visionaries to help them to close the gap there. So it's really good work.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you make an excellent point about, bringing up who and not how, because it's also like if you spend your time looking at this stuff and focusing on this and it's not your zone of genius, what it does is it actually kills your creativity, right? And now that vision starts to shrink, and how much harder is it to really get it off the ground if that happens?
Yeah, definitely. And so one of the things, again, we've known each other for several years now, and being an entrepreneur, you've navigated the highs and lows, just like I have. I always call it the greatest roller
Yeah.
coaster ever. What do you think is a common struggle of why people cannot get their business off the ground?
Oh, this is such a good question. I really thought about this so much, and to be honest with you, I think it's the crux of my work. Like, I really believe in this idea of having this 360 vision of a business, right? And so to me, that means big picture and little picture. And where most people struggle, and not only beginning entrepreneurs, but really at any level, because it's just a human thing. It's like we can either see that big picture or we can really see the little picture. So big picture is what we've been talking about, vision, like how what you do can change the world, how it can make lives better, right? And it's like, how do you make that an actual business, right? So someone might get stuck there. Then there are other people who are like just the doers, right? They can just like grind, get things done, get the funnel up, do all those things. But how does it tie to this bigger thing? Like, where are you going? Like, where will you be in a year's time, in 5 and 10 years? And so I think the struggle is really living between the two, like living in that center space where you can look at both the big picture, the little picture, and make your decisions from there, right? And so the sooner you realize that, you need both, and whether it's, finding the who, right? Getting to the place where you're making decisions from there is going to accelerate the kind of impact and income that you get to have.
Amen. I totally agree. That's good stuff. Okay, so as we're transitioning to the damn, I wish somebody would have told me that 3 tips. What is your tip number one in no
Oh my
particular order?
Okay, so tip number one is know your numbers. Uh, okay, so um, Patty, you and I have known each other like I think we're going on almost 10 years
Yeah.
actually. I think we're
Yeah.
like a really long time. And so, when you met me, I was in the beginning of launching like one of my businesses. And I have to tell you, I was very fortunate that I had a lot of financial success very easily, and very quickly. And one of the things that I was always asked by my coaches, and it was just like the measuring stick is like, what's revenue, right? Like, how, are you at 6 figures? That whole kind of stuff. And um, damn, I wish someone would have told me back then, girl, look at that number. That's a cute number, but really look at that bottom line, right? Like, what is it costing you? Like, do you know what these numbers mean? Even if I didn't know all those things, then it would have been good to start to just build a relationship with them because, what would I do if I wanted more money? I would just have another launch, right? I would just do another thing. And you know me well enough to know, Patty, that I like nice things. So, if I were to host an event or something, like it was gonna look really nice. It was
They
gonna
were
have like all these, yeah,
amazing
like,
venues.
and so I think I still could have done it, but I think I would have, maybe instead of like, let's say booking that first venue, maybe like researched it a little bit more, not just gone on looks and things like that, but also just started to learn what it's like to have a relationship with numbers. Because as the numbers get bigger, if you don't have that there, it's like a very slippery slope. So that's definitely tip number one, learn your numbers from the beginning.
Oh, I love it. It reminds me of in the book Profit First, how Mike Michalowicz talks about like the common conversation at the cocktail party, let's say at the end of the year is like, hey, how was business? He's like, oh,
Right.
we're at $5 million. And then he's like, well, what people don't ever talk about is like, what's the net? Because you could have
Yeah.
a $5 million business, but then if you're under what, right? Like if you're in the red, what was that all for? And that was like really that was like, wow, that's so true. People always equate the health of the business to the revenues, but not to the bottom line. And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, no, knowing the real numbers, the intricate
Yeah.
stuff. And again, if you're avoiding it, it's time to look at it. So I love it. I couldn't agree more. Okay. What about tip number two?
Tip number two. So I you'll definitely appreciate this one. For those of you that don't know, Patty was actually my coach for quite a while, and you were really an integral part of taking my business online. Like you helped me create a beautiful platform and, a subscription model and all this stuff. And I just remember going back and forth. I was so always focused on sales. And we just always had the back and forth of like, what's more important? Sales, marketing, sales, marketing, sales, marketing, right?
Mhm.
And so I concede, Patty. I think you were right. Because what I wish I would have known back then is to continue to revisit my ideal client regularly, like at least once a year. And the reason I say that is because when I first launched, like my messaging was really good. I knew my avatar inside and out. But what I didn't anticipate is that as I grew and as I became a bit more sophisticated in my business savvy, what I wanted to help my clients with also became a little bit more sophisticated. So I'm still saying this old thing, like, but I'm looking and hungry to work with, someone who is at a different season of business. And so the two weren't meeting.
Mm.
And it took me forever to figure out that was the problem. I thought, is there something wrong with the business? Like, why is this not working the way that it used to? And it was literally because I was changing. And so, had I known to like look at this, once a year, or if after having like some kind of big expansion or something, I think, I think I would have caught it sooner.
Oh, I love it. Well,
You win.
it's so good. No, it's not even, it's not even that, because the fascinating side of it is, I think the key of what you're saying is like, as you evolve, who you can serve and the solutions that you have are going to evolve. And so it's like, because of that, your marketing has to shift. I mean, you can do all the marketing in the world, but if you don't know how to sell, you're dead in the water, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're
Well,
selling
the
to the
funny
wrong
thing
person,
is,
it's like they go together.
well, that was exactly it, because
Yeah.
my marketing was working, but it was bringing still,
Right.
this one client. And I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I'm trying to do this.
Right.
So I think you're right. And a big thing to realize, or to just like kind of have a little seed in the back of your mind, is that when you're going through it, you also don't realize. Like, I remember, clients that I had in the beginning part of my business who like years later were like, oh man, like your business is blowing up. It's so different. I can't believe everything you've done. And I'm like, like I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's very easy to, because you're in it, to not notice that these changes are happening.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. I love it. Okay, and what about tip number 3?
Okay, well, it kind of ties into this. Tip number 3 is that being an entrepreneur, it is the most accelerated masterclass in personal development that you will ever experience. Period.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
How it's played out for you.
Yeah, so I mean, looking back at the other tips that I shared, I think that whatever limiting beliefs, patterns, old stories that were present in me, my business invited me to really resolve, right? To confront, and to surpass, you know. I think like when I think of like the money thing, I just realize the little bit of uh I guess maybe respect that I had for money, because I've been so used to just like generating, that I didn't really um revere it in the way that I do now. Like I really believed in this idea that, sometimes lives in the entrepreneurial space, like, just like jump all in, like, throw a bunch of money at it. Like, if you're not investing at this level, it's, you're not really in it. And it just made me realize, like, no, I get to sit with a decision, right? And I get to really honor and respect this money and what I want to do, like this energy, right? This force, what I want to do with it. And just self-worth and anything that comes up for you. I mean, I can think of so many conversations with clients, like, or in a sales conversation, right? Moments where I didn't feel good enough. So, like, how did I show up for that call? And the wonderful thing about it is by doing it over and over and over, and also stumbling through, the mistakes I've made, it's also helped me become someone I'm really proud to be, and the type of person that can really anchor someone else, because I have like like, I know that I what I do works, and I know that it'll work for you because I believe in you. And so when you don't believe in you, like,
Mhm.
it is a very scary question when a client says to you, "Are you sure? Like, are we doing the right thing here? Like, is this going to work?" And to be able to stand for someone and say, like, yeah, like, I'm not even worried about this, I think is really big. And that wouldn't have happened had I not, stumbled in all those different ways.
So true. I mean, how many conversations have we had where the quote, like, I'm in my shit. I gotta work this out. You know what I mean? And see yourself on the
Yeah.
other side. And so like, I feel so profoundly like, unless you've been through it, how can you possibly comment on it or teach something? That's the value of having a coach or a mentor or a strategist that's been in the trenches and can speak from a place of knowing. There's one thing that I learned from my mentor is like, there's a difference between understanding and knowing. Like,
Yeah.
indisputably, irrevocably, you know what I mean? Undeniably, like all the things with certainty, all the superlatives I can think of. It's like,
Yeah.
it's so true. And I think that's the essential thing, is like understanding the power of entrepreneurship as a vehicle for personal development, but also what it rewards you in terms of becoming that much of a stronger entrepreneur because you've been through it. So I love it.
Yeah,
Okay, so
it's
I'm
so
just
true. It's so true. It makes me think of Dr. Joe Dispenza, I think, says, how you know that you know it is when it's in your behavior, when it's in your being.
Mhm.
And so when you're talking about it, like, sure, it sounds nice. I mean, I've definitely been at points in my career where I've reiterated something that sounded really good that someone said to me, but it was different to share that very same thing after having gone through it and really be able to speak from that experience.
Yeah,
So,
I love it. I love it. All right, so let me recap. So first one is know your numbers. Number two, I took away from it is like revisiting your avatar, because as you evolve, who you serve and the solution you bring to the table is going to evolve. And also, of course, the importance of that, when you understand that, it's going to dictate how your marketing is going to go. It's going to dictate how your sales conversation is going to go. And then number three, entrepreneurship being the greatest personal development vehicle, period.
period. And can I
Period.
just say, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I probably sound really boring already because I just want to really like drive this point home. Like, can you see how that really encompasses this idea of this 360 vision? Because there's a tactical thing of like, look at your numbers, look at your audience, all of that. But then there's like this bigger thing of like, well, am I still serving the same person, right? Has something changed? And then who am I becoming? And
Right.
so I think, if you don't remember the three tips, like, just remember that it's really about looking big picture and little picture.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Well, Sonia, thank you so much. How do people find out more about connecting with you, your work on socials, anywhere specifically you'd want them to?
Specifically, that's such a great question. So, it's my pleasure. I'm offering a gift. I would like to gift anyone who feels kind of called with what I've shared a session with me. It's called a 360 vision session. I'm sure you're surprised to hear that. But essentially, it is a time for us to really figure out what are your goals, what are your gaps, and what is the opportunity that's right in front of you that you absolutely must take. And so you can find me on social media on Instagram, official soniarodriguez.com. And then the link that is provided below, you can book your session there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Again, all links, social media handles, and whatnot will be right below this video so you can connect with Sonia because she is amazing and the real deal. So thank you so much for being on this virtual summit. Damn, wish somebody would have told me that, because these are some really damn good tips.
Thank you, Patty.
Absolutely.